Did you know that Jean Grey has a powerful twisted clone who nearly destroyed the X-Men? Meet Madelyne Pryor, a character filled with tragedy, betrayal, and godlike powers that rival the Phoenix Force. In just 10 minutes, we break down her shocking origin, insane abilities, and how she became one of Marvel's most dangerous villains. In the 1980s, the X-Men faced a devastating loss when their original teammate, Jean Grey, perished in the infamous Dark Phoenix saga. Seeing an opportunity to manipulate events, the Sinister geneticist Nathaniel Essex, better known as Mr. Sinister, arranged for Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, to cross paths with Madelyne Pryor, a woman engineered to be an exact replica of Jean, in a twisted bid to create the ultimate mutant. But the pain and betrayal she endured transformed Madelyne into the vengeful Goblin Queen. Recently, she stepped into her new role as the ruler of Limbo and leader of the Dark X-Men. Let's take a closer look at her tragic descent into villainy. Madelyne first appeared in Uncanny X-Men 168 as a skilled pilot working for North Star Airways, a company owned by Scott's grandparents. Scott first encountered her while visiting his family in Alaska, and he was immediately unsettled by how eerily she resembled the late Jean Grey. Before long, the two developed a romantic connection. But even as his feelings for her deepened, Scott couldn't shake the nagging suspicion that she might actually be Jean brought back to life, or even the Phoenix itself. And it wasn't just paranoia. Madelyne revealed to Scott that she was the sole survivor of a mysterious plane crash that occurred on the exact day Jean died, yet she had no recollection of her life before that tragic event. The villain mastermind later preyed on Scott's growing doubts, distorting reality to make it seem as though Madelyne truly was the Phoenix Reborn. However, once the X-Men exposed Mastermind's deception and unraveled his illusions, Scott finally let go of his suspicions and accepted that Madelyne was simply a regular human with no mutant abilities. In time, Scott and Madelyne tied the knot, and he made the difficult choice to step away from the X-Men to start a quiet life with her in Alaska. Adventure had a way of finding them, and for a brief time, Madelyne adopted the superhero name Anodyne after Loki granted her the extraordinary ability to heal others. Not long after gaining these new powers, Madelyne shared the life-changing news that she was pregnant. Scott, however, struggled with the idea of settling down and soon found himself drawn back into X-Men missions despite his supposed retirement. This led to growing tension between him and Madelyne, which reached a heartbreaking peak when she gave birth to their son, Nathan Summers, later known as Cable, all alone while Scott was away on another mission. Frustrated and hurt by Scott's continued absences, Madelyne urged him to step away from the X-Men for good. Instead, he challenged Aurora Monroe, also known as Storm, to a duel to decide who would lead the team in Professor Charles Xavier's absence. Unbeknownst to her, Madelyne's dormant powers subtly influenced the battle, leading to Scott's unexpected defeat. With no other choice, he and Madelyne returned to Alaska. But once again, Scott's attempt at retirement didn't last long. When Jean Grey unexpectedly returned from the dead, he abandoned both Madelyne and their infant son to join X-Factor. Left to fend for herself, Madelyne took a piloting job that sent her to San Francisco, bringing Nathan along with her. Tragically, upon arriving, she was ambushed by the Marauders, a team of deadly mutants working under Mr. Sinister, who kidnapped Nathan and left her for dead. In the aftermath of the attack, Madelyne found refuge with the X-Men, where she formed a deep bond with Scott's brother, Alex Summers. During her time at the X-Men's base in Australia, she had a devastating moment when she witnessed Scott and Jean reunited. Overcome with fury, Madelyne lashed out in a fit of rage, but the confrontation ended with her being knocked unconscious. Seizing the opportunity, Sim, a demon from Limbo, tormented her with relentless visions of Scott's abandonment and his unwavering love for Jean. The overwhelming grief and betrayal finally pushed Madelyne over the edge, leading her to strike a dark bargain with the demon and Austere in exchange for help rescuing her son, who was still in Mr. Sinister's clutches. In doing so, Madelyne awakened her long-dormant psychic abilities. Alongside these newfound powers, she also discovered a natural talent for sorcery, which she used to summon goblins and demons, marking the birth of the Goblin Queen. With her power growing, Madelyne confronted Mr. Sinister in his laboratory. This is where he finally revealed the truth. She was nothing more than a clone of Jean Grey. After Jean's death, the Phoenix Force had unknowingly merged with Madelyne, granting her life. Mr. Sinister had then orchestrated her fateful meeting with Scott, ensuring they would conceive a child for him to later claim. But when Jean was resurrected, Sinister tried to erase all evidence of his scheme by eliminating Madelyne. This revelation shattered her, confirming her deepest fears about Scott's obsession with Jean, and set the stage for the explosive Inferno storyline. During this storyline, Madelyne made a pact with the demons of Limbo, agreeing to aid in their invasion of Earth. A plan that required her to sacrifice her own son, Nathan. At the same time, she began an affair with Alex Summers, who soon embraced his new role as the Goblin Prince. Locked in a battle with Jean, Madelyne pulled Jean inside her mind in an effort to kill herself and Jean. In the end, Jean managed to overpower Madelyne. And after the Phoenix Force abandoned her, the Goblin Queen met her demise through self-inflicted wounds. In the years following her death, Madelyne occasionally resurfaced in psionic form, appearing to both Nate Gray, also known as X-Man, and Cable. The first serious attempt to resurrect her took place in the 2000s. At first, she took on the mantle of the Red Queen, leading the Hellfire cult, but she later went on to establish a new Sisterhood of Mutants. With the Sisterhood's help, Madelyne sought to transfer her consciousness into Jean's lifeless body, believing it to be the only vessel capable of containing her power. However, the X-Men had already moved Jean's remains, and in her desperate attempt to claim them, Madelyne ended up destroying herself. However, Lady Deathstrike reassembled the Sisterhood of Mutants and successfully resurrected Madelyne by creating a new body for her. During the dawn of X-Era, the Hellions discovered Madelyne inside one of Mr. Sinister's laboratories, where she was torturing reanimated, zombified versions of the Marauders. Madelyne harbored deep resentment toward the mutants of Krakoa for excluding her from their island nation, leading her to plot an attack with an army of cloned Marauders. During this time, she was also reunited with Alex, who willingly sided with her and agreed to assist in carrying out her plans. However, the Hellions intervened, ultimately defeating Madelyne and killing her in the process. Her death sparked a heated debate over whether she deserved resurrection, given that she was technically a clone of Jean Grey. Alex was furious over this debate, and in response, Emma Frost later persuaded the Quiet Council to approve Madelyne's return. After being brought back to life, she spent her time aimlessly wandering Krakoa, until the Labors of Magic storyline in New Mutants, where Magic chose to relinquish her rule over Limbo and pass the throne to Madelyne, making her the new sovereign of the Demon Realm. With the full power of Limbo now under her command, she joined forces with Chasm, the corrupted clone of Peter Parker, for the Dark Web crossover event. Alongside Chasm, who was convinced that Spider-Man had stolen memories that rightfully belonged to him, Madelyne unleashed the demonic hordes of Limbo upon Manhattan. In response, Spider-Man and the X-Men united to push back against the invasion. When the X-Men were eventually lured into Madelyne's stronghold, Jean came face to face with her clone, whose rage and anguish erupted into a brutal confrontation. As their battle escalated, Jean ultimately recognized what Madelyne truly longed for and chose to surrender. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Madelyne confessed that all she had ever wanted were memories of her son, Nathan, the child she had with Scott. In an effort to mend the wounds of Madelyne's past, Jean willingly shared those memories with her. Deeply moved by this unexpected act of kindness, Madelyne called off the attack on New York and took control of Chasm, imprisoning him in Limbo. At the same time, as a sign of reconciliation, the X-Men and the Krakoan government helped Madelyne establish a Limbo embassy within the city. Through her role at the embassy, Madelyne dedicated herself to providing sanctuary for the rejected ones, offering a home to those who had nowhere else to go. This mission became especially crucial during Fall of X, when the anti-mutant organization Orcus launched an assault on the Hellfire Gala and banished most of mutant kind from Earth. As hatred toward mutants escalated worldwide, Madelyne stepped up by forming the Dark X-Men, a team dedicated to traveling the globe and aiding mutants in distress while the X-Men directly battled Orcus. So what exactly are Madelyne's powers? Her telekinesis is formidable, allowing her to lift and control large objects, unleash devastating mental energy blasts, generate an almost indestructible force field, and even propel herself through the air at impressive speeds. she also possesses reality warping abilities, enabling her to manipulate the fundamental quantum strings of existence within a localized area with precision-based telekinesis. On top of that, she is an exceptionally powerful telepath, capable of reading and controlling the minds of others, including highly intelligent animals, across an immense, potentially boundless range. Some of Madelyne's most remarkable telepathic abilities include cloaking herself from detection, blending seamlessly into her surroundings, exerting mind control, fully possessing others, and altering thoughts and memories at will. She has the power to inflict mental amnesia, render targets completely paralyzed through sheer psychic force, and cause excruciating pain with just her mind. Her psionic abilities also allow her to generate powerful mental shields, unleash devastating psychic blasts, create highly convincing telepathic illusions, and project her consciousness onto the astral plane. Beyond her psychic talents, she wields formidable dark magic, granting her access to powerful sorcery. Through these mystical abilities, she can heal injuries, locate spirits across different dimensions, and when combined with advanced technology, even resurrect those who have been long dead. Additionally, she has the ability to summon goblins, demons, and other nightmarish entities to do her bidding. What do you think about Madelyne, her story, and her powers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.